Martell Holt wasn't always viewed as the villain he is today. There was a time when people truly believed his story. They saw him as a man trying to hold his family together, a father who wanted to be present in his children's lives, a husband who maybe made mistakes, but still carried the image of someone worth rooting for. For a while, that image worked. He said the right things in interviews, shared just enough on social media to make himself look like the sympathetic one, and carefully positioned himself as the man struggling through heartbreak rather than the one creating chaos. But as the years passed, the cracks in that image grew wider. Eventually, they weren't just cracks anymore, they were signs of a complete collapse. What people once excused as messy co-parenting has now been revealed for what it really is, a desperate need for control. This isn't the quiet kind of control that slips under the radar. This is loud, manipulative, and toxic control, the type where someone refuses to let go, refuses to move on, and refuses to allow anyone else to breathe without them being in the middle of it. And at the center of all this isn't love, it isn't about the kids, and it certainly isn't about family. It's about power. Martell Holt's obsession with holding on to power, even when it destroys everything around him, is the driving force behind the story we see playing out today. Now let's talk about the facts, because this isn't just speculation or gossip. A judge once told Martell directly, clear as day, that if he truly wanted to be a co-parent and play an active role in his children's lives, he needed counseling and a psychological evaluation. That was not a suggestion, that was not a recommendation, it was a requirement, a mandatory order. But here's the problem. More than 2 years have passed, and Martell still hasn't followed through, not once. Think about how different the reaction would have been if Melody had ignored a court order for even 6 months. She would have been dragged through the mud, labeled unfit, accused of being reckless. The double standard is glaring. Martell gets chance after chance while Melody has had to fight for every ounce of credibility, respect, and fairness. And this isn't just hearsay. The court records are there. The receipts exist. People have seen the documents, read the filings, and watched the saga unfold in real time. There is no mystery here. Martell is not meeting the requirements set by the court, but somehow he's still managing to spin the narrative in ways that make it seem like he's fighting for his kids. In reality, what he's fighting for is control over Melody, and he's using the children as pawns in a game that never should have existed in the first place. Meanwhile, Melody has taken the opposite approach. She's shown up to every court date, she's filed every single document that needed to be filed, she has followed every instruction, no matter how draining, no matter how much it cost her in terms of sleep, privacy, or peace of mind. Even when the process stripped her of her comfort, she stayed on course. That's the difference between someone who actually wants resolution and someone who wants to drag things out. Martell treats the system like it's a game of chess, always trying to maneuver and manipulate, while Melody treats it like what it really is, a serious matter that directly affects the well-being of her children. And here's where things cut deeper, because this isn't just about who filed what paperwork or who followed court orders. This is about the emotional damage being done to the kids. They are the ones stuck in the middle of a war they didn't start, a war they didn't ask for, and a war that has gone on far too long. And the saddest part, they're old enough now to understand. They see it all. They know which parent provides peace and stability, and they know which parent brings chaos, stress, and constant conflict. Kids might not articulate it the way adults do, but they feel it. They sense the energy in a home. They hear the arguments. They notice the court talk. And those experiences stay with them long after the adults have stopped fighting. What makes it even more painful is how Martell continues to use his children as tools in his public battles. On social media, he paints one picture, posting smiling photos with Ariane Curry and their child, complete with heart emojis and captions that make everything look picture perfect. But when it comes to Melody's kids, suddenly he hides behind the excuse of privacy. That double standard is so loud, it's impossible to ignore. It's not about protecting anyone's well-being, it's about optics. It's about controlling the story. It's about deciding who gets to be shown and who doesn't, all depending on how it makes Martell look in the eyes of the public. And let's not forget how his social media presence has turned into a masterclass in manipulation. One day he's posting Bible verses, talking about being a man of God and family values. The very next day, he's throwing thinly veiled shade at Melody through captions that are both petty and obvious. It's like a soap opera dressed up with scripture. And for a while, people fell for it. But the truth has a way of coming out, and eventually even the most loyal supporters started to see through the mask. What once looked like heartbreak now reads like pure ego. What once looked like love now feels like punishment. Martell isn't fighting for his family anymore. He's fighting to control the narrative, to win attention, and to maintain power. And this is the cycle we've all seen play out again and again. Provoke, play the victim, avoid accountability, and then repeat the same behavior. Martell stirs up drama, then acts shocked when people call him out. He claims he wants peace, but his actions scream the opposite. That's not the behavior of a man trying to heal. That's the behavior of someone putting on a performance for an audience that no longer clapping. By now, you'd think after losing battles in court, after being ordered into counseling, after watching fans turn against him, Martell would take a step back and reflect. You'd think he might try to grow, to change, to do the work. But instead, he doubled down. He filed more motions. He appealed decisions he had already lost. Not because he believed he could actually win, but because keeping the legal process going meant keeping Melody tied to him. As long as there were court papers to file and hearings to attend, Martell had a guaranteed connection to Melody's life. It's not about custody, it's about access. It's a power play disguised as concern for his kids. And the price of all this? The kids. Pay it every single day. Every dragged out court date means more stress, more instability, more uncertainty. These kids are not little anymore. They are old enough to sense the difference between a parent who brings calm and a parent who brings chaos. They are smart enough to notice who keeps their word and who doesn't. They may not say it out loud, but they know. And that knowledge creates wounds that take years to heal. Then there's the hypocrisy Martell shows in his personal life. He parades his relationship with Ariane Curry like it had nothing to do with the downfall of his marriage, expecting everyone to simply accept it and move on. He acts as though people should celebrate his new happiness, even though it came at the expense of his family. But imagine for a second if Melody had done the same thing. If she had introduced a man tied to the breakdown of her marriage and posted smiling family photos online, the internet would have exploded. Martell himself would have gone on endless rants about disrespect and parenting. That's the difference between how he holds himself accountable versus how he demands accountability from Melody. And here's the root of the problem. Martell doesn't want equality in parenting. He doesn't want fairness. He wants control. He wants freedom for himself and rules for Melody. He wants to be seen as the better parent, but without putting in the work that comes with that title. He talks a lot about love, but love without sacrifice isn't love at all. Real love means doing the uncomfortable things, like sitting through therapy even when you don't want to. Real love means stepping aside when your presence causes harm. Real love means listening more than you speak. But Martell doesn't want that kind of love. He wants power disguised as love. Meanwhile, Melody has taken a completely different route. She has chosen peace over chaos. She doesn't entertain every jab, doesn't respond to every provocation, and doesn't turn her pain into entertainment. She's building, she's focused, and she's showing her kids what it looks like to rise above drama. That's why people have shifted their support. Because while Martell keeps playing games, Melody has been showing growth, strength, and maturity. And let's be honest, when the fans turned on Martell, they didn't just quietly walk away. They brought receipts. They pulled up old posts, old interviews, old contradictions. They connected the dots. The internet doesn't forget. And once the tide turns against you, it's nearly impossible to win the crowd back. Former supporters are now asking the tough questions. Why hasn't he followed through with the judge's orders? Why does he keep dragging things out? Why are the kids being exposed to so much conflict? And most importantly, why is no one holding him accountable? The sad truth is that Martell built his identity around being the father who fought for his kids. But fighting without reflection, without change, without growth, that's not noble. That's just noise. He had the chance to take a different path. He could have stepped back, done the work, and returned with a real change to show for it. But instead, he chose the path of control, the exhausting path that keeps him in the spotlight but risks losing the respect of the people who matter most, his children. Because here's what Martell may not realize yet. Kids don't remember your Instagram posts. They don't care about your captions, your quotes, or your followers. They remember how you made them feel. They remember who raised their voice, who kept their promises, who brought tension into the house, and who created peace. They remember which home felt safe and which one felt unstable. And one day, when they piece it all together, the court records, the timelines, the posts, they'll know. They'll see the truth without anyone having to explain it to them. Martell's legacy won't be the story he tells on social media. It won't be the filtered photos or the Bible verses sprinkled across captions. It will be the memories his kids carry, the emotional reality that no public performance can erase. And that's the part he can't control no matter how hard he tries. Melody didn't fight in court because she wanted trophies. She didn't fight because she wanted to embarrass him. She fought because she wanted peace, space to raise her kids without the constant pull of chaos. And now, little by little, she's building that peace. Her growth is visible. Her focus is undeniable. She's showing her kids what resilience looks like. And in the process, she's showing the world the difference between someone clinging to control and someone choosing peace. Martell still has time to change the ending of his story, but it's going to take more than captions, more than performances, and more than court filings. It's going to take humility, real accountability, and a willingness to put his children before his pride.